Chapter 2008. Rose of Flowers was right. Jun Changxiao was indeed tempted by the sudden appearance of the huge monster. It was undeniable that it was a little ugly. However, judging from its aura, it was not weaker than a heavenly secret. Take it down. Put it in the sect of all times as a guard. Jun Changxiao had dared to do this many times over the past 1,000 years. When he passed by a certain plain and encountered a special beast, he subdued it and made it a guard beast. Damn it! The monster did not realize the danger and said angrily, "What's with that look in your eyes?" "I love your eyes," Jun Changxiao said. Ugh! The monster almost vomited. Jun Changxiao said, "Below the abyss leads to the medicine spiritual world." "That's right." The monster said coldly. "Found it." Jun Changxiao's smile became even brighter. This angered the monster. It raised its arms and slammed them down, roaring, "I'll guard this place. You can't move an inch." Whoosh whoosh. A mountain-like palm pressed down, stirring up a cold gust of wind. This monster was indeed very powerful. If it was Sang Qingtian, he might not be able to withstand it. However, standing in front of it was Jun Changxiao. As the founder of the eternal realm and under the great art of spring and autumn for 1,000 years, his strength had reached the peak. Pa! The moment the huge palm pressed down, Jun Changxiao raised his hand and caught it with his middle and index fingers. Energy ripples visible to the naked eye quickly spread out, crazily attacking the surrounding stone walls. Rose of Flowers stood behind, her hair fluttering in the wind, but she was not disturbed at all. With her husband around, she was very safe. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh. The huge hand seemed to be frozen in place. No matter how much energy pressed down, it was still unable to move Jun Changxiao's 2 fingers. How is this possible? The monster's eyes widened. Then, it poured energy into its arm with a face full of anger, trying to crush the human in front of it into powder. Unfortunately, no matter how hard it tried, it could not sink down at all. Jun Changxiao's 2 fingers were like pillars, holding up heaven and earth. Who? The monster was naturally unwilling to give up. It raised its other hand and pressed down. However, even with the support of the 2 forces, the human was still standing there with a smile on his face. His mentality collapsed. Damn it! The monster retracted its palms and breathed in and out. The heaven and earth attributes in the surroundings surged into its body. It let out a ferocious roar and pressed its palms down with terrifying power. Futile struggle. Jun Changxiao shook his head. With a tap of his toes, he went to meet the 2 palms. Then, with unpredictable movements, he stopped in front of the monster and slowly raised his hand. Outside the forbidden area. Sang Qingtian asked worriedly, "Is Senior Qinkuan all right?" Rumble. Suddenly, a deafening rumble resounded from within, and it shocked him to the point he hurriedly retreated over 3 kilometers while cold sweat broke out on his back. Hoo-hoo! At the same time, billowing waves of air gushed out from the forbidden grounds, spreading along the vast universe. Sang Qingtian's expression changed drastically, especially when he felt the rampaging energy. His scalp went from numb to bursting. This commotion. This aura. It was terrifying to the extreme. Who? The first person Sang Qingtian thought of was Senior Qinkuan. From what he knew, no one in the Lin Tian region could reach such a terrifying level. Crack crack. At this moment, a cracking sound could be heard. Sang Qingtian's eyes gradually widened. Then, he exclaimed, "The secret forbidden area, cracked." That's right. This forbidden area that had existed in the Lin Tian region for a long time suddenly suffered a terrifying explosion and finally cracked. Rumble. Another explosion resounded. The secret forbidden area that could still be salvaged was instantly damaged, and the cracking speed increased. Not good. Sang Qingtian exclaimed and immediately turned to flee. His reaction was quite fast. If he had been a little later, he might have, rumble. Suddenly, a powerful explosion occurred at the entrance of the secret forbidden area. The surrounding space immediately collapsed into pieces, and the shockwave instantly spread far and wide. Poof! Although Sang Qingtian dodged quickly, he still could not outrun the shockwave from the explosion. Therefore, he was still affected. Not only was he sent flying, but his meridians and organs were also damaged. What's that commotion? The cultivators in the various regions of the Lin Tian region heard the explosion clearly. Shock appeared on their faces. It's very far. It seems to be in the secret forbidden area. Let's go and take a look. Swish swish swish. In an instant, countless powerful cultivators flew towards the secret forbidden area. It was not hard to imagine that when they arrived, they would definitely be like Sang Qingtian, rooted to the spot as if they had been struck by lightning, unable to regain their senses for a long time. Why was that? Because the secret forbidden area was gone. Because hundreds of miles of space had collapsed. In the center of the chaotic area, the rose of flowers floated in the air and shook her head. Another forbidden area has been destroyed. Sang Qingtian swallowed his saliva and continued to release his spiritual senses. He discovered that Senior Qiankuan was standing in front of his wife, standing in front of a huge demon beast. Why did this demon beast look so similar to the Chaos Demon King recorded in the ancient books? Remove the word similar and it would be the Chaos Demon King. Could it be? Sang Qingtian's mind spun quickly. The commotion just now was caused by it. It was an ancient grey demon beast and was definitely powerful. However, it was a little exaggerated to destroy the secret forbidden area. Wait. There were 2 dents on its face. It was beaten up. Plop. At this moment, half of Chaos Demon King's body and head fell to the ground like mud. The secret forbidden area no longer existed. Only the limited area where Jun Changshao was standing and the abyss ahead remained. You have to be gentler. You won't get beaten up. Jun Changshao squatted down and placed one hand on the Chaos Demon King's head, signing the contract in a domineering manner. The signing of the contract required the consent of both parties. However, the Chaos Demon King fainted after being punched twice. There was no need to ask. Swish. Not long after, the contract was signed. Jun Changshao took out a gate palm ball from his spatial ring and kept the Chaos Demon King inside. Don't ask how he got it. He bought it from the shop. Let's go. Jun Changshao said, let's go down. Okay. The 2 jumped down the cliff hand in hand. Sang Qingtian, who was standing in the distance, was stunned. The secret forbidden area was destroyed by Senior Qiankuan and an ancient grey demon king was also subdued by him. How terrifying. Legendary. As expected of a legendary. At that moment, Sang Qingtian's adoration for Jun Changshao was like an endless torrential river. Swish. Swish. At that moment, the experts closest to the secret forbidden area rushed over. When they saw the collapsed space and the abyss in the universe, they were all dumbfounded. Sorry. Sang Qingtian turned around and said, you're late. You didn't see Senior Qiankuan do it. There was obvious pride on his face, as if to tell everyone that it was a pity that they didn't see it. However, I saw it. Chapter 2009. The extreme north of the Eternal Realm. There was a world of ice and snow called the Ice Realm. Shwa. Shwa. A graceful girl about 14 or 15 years old was cultivating. Wherever her sword light passed, layers of thick snow would roll up. Her name was Imomushi. She was originally the daughter of an ordinary family. By chance, she became the disciple of an expert and embarked on the path of martial arts. Because she was very compatible with the ice attribute, she broke through to the core transformation realm in just a few years. She could be considered a genius. A moment later, Mo Mushi withdrew her sword and bowed respectfully. Master, I have comprehended the 1,000-heart-chilling sword technique. I wonder if I can participate in the universe's sacred war in 10 years. On the iceberg in front of her stood a graceful woman. Although her face was covered by a white veil and it was difficult to see her appearance, her body exuded an aura that was colder than the environment. Far from it. The cold woman said indifferently. There was no emotion in her words. It was as cold as the iceberg under her feet. Mo Mushi was used to it. She had cultivated with her master for 3 years, and it had always been like this. Those who are qualified to participate in the universe sacred war are all the top geniuses in the world. Therefore, in 10 years, you must break through to the truth-seeking realm, the woman said again. Truth-seeking realm? Mo Mushi thought to herself, it's unreachable. Remember. The woman continued, ice-type warriors emphasize on the heart being as still as water. If there are any attachments, it will eventually become an obstacle on the path of martial arts. Mo Mushi said, I will remember master's teachings. Perhaps it was because her master suddenly said so many words to her that she mustered up her courage and asked weakly, Master is so powerful. Has your heart been as still as water and you have no attachments? No. Ah. This answer surprised Mo Mushi. Her master was also an ice-type powerhouse. She had even demonstrated to her how she could freeze an entire plane with a wave of her hand. Her heart was as still as water. Mushi. The woman said indifferently, the most unforgettable thing in the world is love. In the future, when you go out to train, don't fall in love with men. Otherwise, you will harm yourself in the end. I understand. Mo Mushi thought to herself, Master must be in love. After saying that, she secretly glanced at the bracelet on her master's wrist and muttered in her heart, it's obviously a very ordinary treasure, but master is particularly concerned about it. I'm afraid it was given by that person who fell in love with it. This girl is very meticulous. Let's go. The woman said, follow me back to the sect. Sect? Mo Mushi was surprised. I am the eldest disciple of the sect of all times. Since you are my disciple, you are naturally a disciple of the sect as well, the woman said. Sect of all times. Mo Mushi had never heard of it. His background was originally very ordinary. After becoming a disciple of a master, he came to the world of ice and snow to cultivate. Naturally, he had never heard of the legendary sects that were famous throughout the eternal domain. Swish today, the ice world flickered with resplendent white light that pierced through heaven and earth, not dissipating for a long time. In a hut in the countryside. Smoke curled up from the chimney. Straighten your posture. In a clean courtyard, a bearded middle-aged man in rough clothes said with his hands behind his back. Yes. Li Guiyuan, who was about 3 or 4 years old, hurriedly straightened his body. Although he was still a child, his posture was very standard. At a glance, one could tell that he was cut out for martial arts. Stand for 2 hours. Yes. His father's words were an order. Li Guiyuan did not dare to disobey. Husband. At this moment, a beautiful woman in plain clothes walked out and complained, Guiyuan is still a child. The path of martial arts needs to be cultivated from a young age, the man in rough clothes said. Mother. Li Guiyuan smiled and said, I'm not tired. This child was very sensible. His mother shook her head and could only return to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. 2 hours later, the little guy relaxed from his stance and then sat on the ground. He wiped the sweat on his forehead and said with a smile, Father, tell me the story of the patriarch of the sect of all times. Okay. The man in rough clothes sat down and patted his son's little head with a smile. Your name was given by the patriarch of the sect of all times. He took it from the lotus hat with the setting sun, the green mountain returns to the distance. Really? The little guy was so excited that he almost jumped up. Doraemon expressed that with Go Sheng's intelligence, it was impossible for him to come up with such an elegant name. There was definitely a problem. Although he was only 3 years old, unlike Emo Mushi who was ignorant of the world, Li Guiyuan often fell asleep listening to the stories of the sect of all times. He especially admired the sect master the most. Unexpectedly, he was the one who gave his name. Father. Li Guiyuan said excitedly, do you know the patriarch of the sect of all times? Yes. Wow. Father is so amazing. The man in rough clothes used his small hand to touch the tip of his son's nose and said with a smile, Father will take you to the sect of all times, okay? Isn't the sect of all times very far away from us? Li Guiyuan asked blankly. Close your eyes. The man in rough clothes said with a face full of affection. Okay. Li Guiyuan did as he was told. In an instant, he felt the sky darken. When he opened his eyes again, his bright eyes gradually widened. In his field of vision was a towering huge palace surrounded by clouds and mist. It was like the fairyland that his father had mentioned. And the big sign with the words unyielding iron bones was particularly dazzling and eye-catching. Son. The man in rough clothes said, this is the sect of all times. The little guy was so shocked that he didn't recover for a long time. At this time, several sect disciples in coquettish clothes walked over and carefully looked at the dazed Li Guiyuan. They said in unison, second senior brother, your son looks so much like you. It's as if he was carved out of the same mold. Nonsense. Li Tian, who was carrying a camera, happened to pass by. He glared at his junior brothers and said, of course, second senior brother's son looks like second senior brother. Could it be that he looks like, senior brother, be careful? Someone exclaimed. Whoosh! At this moment, the happy football flew close to the ground at a high speed. After it reached his crotch, it suddenly rushed up. Just as it was about to hit his chin, Li Tianshan looked at the camera with a calm face and shrugged. A familiar smell. Boom! Thousands of miles away, after confirming that the ball hit the target, Li Fei slowly retracted his foot and said, this is what happens when you don't know how to speak. One black and two black roared, you kicked the ball first and he spoke later. It was just a coincidence. Father, Li Guiyuan finally recovered. He turned to look at his father and found that he had already taken off his rough clothes and changed into the sect's uniform made of high-quality materials. Son. Li Qingyang put his hand on his head and looked at the plaque hanging in the main hall. He said seriously, Father is the second disciple of the sect of all times. The stone slabs under your feet and the buildings you see were all built by Father. Boom! Li Guiyuan exploded. My father, is the second disciple of the sect of all times. From today onwards, you are the second-generation disciple of the sect of all times. As your father, I hope that you can practice martial arts diligently and wholeheartedly assist the future young patriarch. This sentence was deeply imprinted in Li Guiyuan's heart. Even when he became an adult, he still remembered his father's teachings and was still waiting for the young patriarch. Even if he was cut in half by the Jianghu later on, the story of the second generation continued silently in a place where the readers could not see. After more than a month, many of the characters were a little unfamiliar. Who knew when the next update would be? Chapter 2010. The Falling Star Continent. A plain with many sections. There was no shortage of strong cultivators here, nor was there a shortage of opportunities. For example, a long, long time ago, someone accidentally obtained an ancient martial art and put it to use. He established the Taishan Xingzong, and after many years of development, he finally became a top force. Today's side story. Let's start with this sect. Northeast Lu State. It was a place of extreme cold. According to the investigation of meteorologists, this state was extremely cold for at least 7 months every year. Especially in the northernmost Taishan mountain, the temperature was so low that it was difficult for people to survive. However, in such a harsh environment, there was a sect standing tall. The Taishan Qingzong. One of the top sects in the falling star continent. In the world of martial arts, it was a colossus. Phew! The cold wind blew, and the gatekeeping disciple shivered. It's colder today than yesterday. It's strange. The winters in recent years have been getting colder and colder. Perhaps because of the cold temperature, the two gatekeeping disciples whispered and rubbed their hands. Senior brother duo. The obviously young disciple on the left asked curiously, "You've been in the sect for many years. Have you seen that person?" That person? The disciple on the right seemed to understand and shook his head in self-mockery. She's the personal disciple of the Grand Elder. How could an entry-level disciple like me have seen her? The disciples of the Taishan Qingzong were divided into 4 categories: entry-level, outer-level, inner-level, and personal disciples. If there was a difference, it meant that too much time had passed. I'm not proud of it at all. Please don't praise me. Alas. The new entry-level disciple sighed. When can I become a personal disciple? Come on. The disciple with the surname Duo said, with your talent, you should be thankful to be an outer-level disciple. Personal disciple. Daydreaming. That's true. While the two of them were talking, several fellow disciples gradually appeared on the stairs of the mountain gate. From their clothes and accessories, it was clear that they were inner sect disciples, especially the teenage girl who walked at the front. She was like the moon surrounded by stars. Most of the Taishan Qingzong disciples wore snow-white robes, but she wore crimson-red, which made her look like an eye-catching flame in the snow-filled sky. When the two disciples saw this, they immediately straightened their backs. When the girl walked over, they hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings, Senior Sister Fang." In terms of age, the two of them were a few years older than the girl. The reason he addressed her as senior sister was because she had already become an inner disciple. Furthermore, she had even become the disciple of an elder. Even though her future achievements would not be as great as that person's, she would definitely have a bright future. The ranking of Taishan Qingzong's senior and junior brothers was not determined by the time they entered the sect. Whoever had the highest status and strength would be the bigger one. Yes. The girl nodded and walked into the sect under the escort of the crowd. When the two disciples saw her leave, they immediately let out a long sigh of relief and excitedly said, "Senior Duo, we're actually lucky enough to meet Senior Sister Fang today." "Calm down." Disciple Duo said. "Wow, Senior Brother Duo is really calm." "Of course." Disciple Duo said proudly, "There are countless inner disciples. It's not like I saw that person. What's there to be excited about?" As soon as he said that, several disciples who were walking into the sect suddenly stopped. One of them turned around and said coldly, "You're not even an outer disciple. What qualifications do you have to talk about inner disciples? This is bad." Disciple Duo suddenly felt that something was wrong. Sure enough, several inner disciples surrounded him, and he hurriedly held his head and squatted on the ground. He was so skillful that it made others feel sorry for him. If he said something wrong, he would be beaten. For many outer disciples, this was a common occurrence. Quite cooperative. Seeing this, several inner disciples shook their heads and walked over with fists clenched. Fang Lingyu, who was surrounded by stars, remained silent. Although there was no expression on her face, there was a strong jealousy deep in her heart. In terms of aptitude and appearance, she was not inferior to her. However, just because the other party entered the sect earlier and was accepted as a personal disciple, she would always be suppressed. She was not reconciled. At this time, the inner disciples had already surrounded Disciple Duo. From the looks of it, punches and kicks were inevitable. There's a show to watch. It seems to be junior brother duo. Wasn't he just beaten up a few days ago? Why is he being targeted again? Needless to say, he must have a bad mouth. The outer disciples in the distance whispered, and no one dared to step forward to stop him. Whoosh! The inner disciples prepared for a while and were about to be violent when they suddenly felt a gust of cold wind blowing, and the surrounding temperature instantly dropped a lot. Everyone shuddered and subconsciously looked at the mountain gate. They saw a graceful figure appear on the stairs. Accompanied by snowflakes, she looked like an otherworldly fairy. It's her. Her. Who? Disciple duo, who was ready to be beaten, looked through the gaps between his fingers and happened to see a young girl walking up. She should not be old, about 13 or 14 years old. However, that delicate face, that delicate nose, and that long hair that poured down like the Milky Way from the ninth heaven all proved that she would definitely be a beauty in the future. Senior Sister Fong was young, but she was already very beautiful. However, compared to her, there was no comparison, no matter if it was appearance, temperament, or other aspects. It was an absolute crush, an absolute instant kill. Disciple duo did not come from a good family and did not receive a good education. At this moment, he could only use a simple word to describe her fairy. Several inner disciples were also stunned. They were not attracted by the girl's beauty, but, schwa. In an instant, everyone stood up straight, their hands trembling slightly, and shouted loudly, "Greetings, Senior Sister Lu." After saying that, the girl had already brushed past them. During the whole process, there was no eye contact or verbal communication, as if they did not exist. Several inner disciples stood in place awkwardly. Thinking of Senior Sister Lu's usual cold and aloof character, they immediately eased a lot. Senior Sister Lu. At this time, Fong Lingyu stopped the girl and smiled, "Did you go down the mountain to do a mission?" Young age. Smiling sweetly. It was easy for people, including women, to feel protective of such a little girl. Yes. Senior Sister Lu stopped in her tracks and responded. There was nothing special about her voice, but it was cold. When the inner disciples who were ignored heard this, they all exclaimed in their hearts. She actually took the initiative to talk to her fellow disciples. These people enjoy bullying their fellow disciples. Don't have too much contact with them. Senior Sister Lu said lightly. Every word was like a knife that stabbed into the hearts of several inner disciples. I will remember Senior Sister Lu's teachings. Fong Lingyu smiled and said, Junior Sister has some doubts about martial arts, please, let's go back and talk. Senior Sister Lu left. Fong Lingyu hurriedly chased after her. At the same time, she did not forget to shout at the inner disciples behind her, don't bully your fellow disciples in the future. Yes, yes. Several inner disciples hurriedly nodded, but their hearts collapsed, aren't we doing this for you? After being criticized by Senior Sister Lu and warned by Senior Sister Fong, they naturally did not dare to touch Disciple Duo again. They could only shake their heads and leave with a sigh. Pa! As soon as they left, the sound of a slap came. Disciple Duo raised his hand and slapped himself again, then muttered to himself, it's not a dream, it's not a dream, it's really her. Another disciple guarding the door said, Senior Brother Duo, who is she? Who else could it be? Looking at the fading figure, the disciple with the multiple surnames said in a trembling voice, it's the one I just mentioned, the one who was accepted as a personal disciple by the Grand Elder. Senior Sister Lu, Lu Chanshan. Ah. She's Lu Chanshan. Do you want to die? How dare you shout so loudly? Creak. Lu Chanshan pushed the door and entered. Fong Lingyu, who was following behind, hesitated because this was the Celestial Ice Heart Palace, the residence of the personal disciples. Other disciples were not qualified to enter. Senior Sister Lu, can I enter? She asked weakly. Yes. Although Lu Qianqian's voice was cold, there was still some warmth in it. It was much better than before, perhaps because the other party was her junior sister. Thank you, senior sister Lu. Fang Lingyu hurried in and looked enviously at the magnificent building inside. She sighed with emotion, it's so beautiful. As long as you work hard, one day you will also have the qualifications to live here, Lu Qianqian said. Fang Lingyu nodded heavily and remembered these words deep in her heart. Night fell. Fang Lingyu happily left the celestial ice heart palace. Under Lu Qianqian's guidance, she had a new understanding of martial arts. This made her fellow disciples envious. Senior sister Lu was a proud daughter of heaven in the sect. Being able to receive her guidance would definitely benefit a lot. Back to Lu Qianqian. After Fang Lingyu left, she sat cross-legged on the ice bed and was about to cultivate when an old voice suddenly sounded in her ear. You helped her again. An old woman appeared out of thin air in the room. Although her face was haggard, her eyes shone with a cold luster. Lu Qianqian hurriedly got up and bowed. Greetings, master. It turned out that this old woman, who was like a candle in the wind, was the only remaining grand elder of the sect. Girl. Disciples of the sect have to compete. If you never tire of teaching others, I'm afraid you will be replaced in the future and even lose everything. Lu Qianqian had heard such words many times. She said disapprovingly, this disciple believes that if a sect wants to prosper, fellow disciples should help each other. That was in the past. The grand elder said with a sullen face, Taishian Xingzong is now a top sect. If you want to stand out from the other disciples, you have to rely on your own efforts and learn to be wary of others. Lu Qianqian was silent. She respected her master very much, but she did not agree with some of her ideas. The grand elder also knew her disciples' thoughts and did not explain further. She changed the topic. How's your cultivation of the cultivation method? This disciple is ignorant and still stopped at the first level, Lu Qianqian said with shame. There's no hurry. The grand elder said, you have the Taishian ice heart body. Sooner or later, you will comprehend the highest level and truly achieve a heart as calm as water. Heart as calm as water. Lu Qianqian whispered to herself. However, the grand elder said with a serious expression, if you want to comprehend this level, you must abide by your heart and not be moved by emotions. Otherwise, all your previous efforts will be wasted. This disciple will remember. The day after tomorrow, the sect will assign you a special mission. You will need to go on a long journey. Prepare yourself. Yes. After explaining the matter, the grand elder turned and left. Master, where are we going? Qingyang County. To be continued. Chapter 2011. Jun Changshao would definitely be present at a lively place. Therefore, he made a move. He felt a little embarrassed. After all, the Universe 9 Seal's palm was stolen by the system and Sang Qingtian had to take the blame. Sigh. Rose of Flowers, who was far away, held her forehead and said, I'm in trouble again. Given her husband's strength, it was not a problem for him to deal with 3 experts. However, he had just arrived and if he made a move rashly, he would easily offend the forces behind them. Who are you? Although the old lady's body was controlled, her tone was unusually cold and there was another meaning in her words. Why should I give you face? That's normal. Go Sheng had no face. Another outsider. Why should I give him face? I'm just a passerby. Jun Changshao said, I can't stand seeing you guys bullying me with numbers. It was indeed a little too much to gang up on one person. As someone from the pugilistic world, he would help even if the secret manual was stolen from the system. Furthermore, things were already very obvious. They were here for the secret manual and Sang Qingtian did not get it. However, he still attacked them unreasonably. That was a little bullying. Kid. The old man who was being controlled said in a deep voice, "You're on a narrow path. Friend." Sang Qingtian said, "This is between me and them. Since you're passing by, please leave. Don't get yourself killed because of me. This person was not bad." "I'm sorry," Jun Changshao said, "there's already karma between us." Sang Qingtian was puzzled. Although the young man in front of him had an imposing appearance, he was sure that he had never seen him before. How could there be karma between them? "You went to the ancient tomb to look for the secret manual and I took it away. That's the cause. Now that we met by chance in the vast universe, that's the effect," Jun Changshao said. "What?" Sang Qingtian said in shock, "You took the secret manual?" This voice even contained a trace of anger. After all, he'd been bitterly pursued by them for a few tens of years all those years ago because of the Universe 9 seal palm, and his days were filled with uncertainty. Phew! At this moment, Jun Changshao retracted his aura, freeing the three of them. He then leaped into the air and his right hand cut through the void, shouting, "Spirit seal! Sanskrit seal! Extreme seal style! Boom! Boom! Boom!" He struck out 9 palms in a row, and each of them struck out violently, shattering the void. Seeing this, Sang Qingtian exclaimed in shock, "Not only did this guy take the manual, but he has also cultivated it to such a level." The other three were also dumbfounded. They could tell that Jun Changshao was trying to prove to them that he had cultivated the 9 Prince Universe palm. However, under that calm demeanor, he was able to unleash an earth-shattering power. His strength was definitely unfathomable. Lin Tianyu had such a person. They frantically mobilized the memories and information in their sea of consciousness, hoping to find an identity that matched the young man's, but in the end, they found nothing. "Three of you." Jun Changshao retracted his spirit energy and clasped his hands behind his back like a martial arts master. He said, "Back then, I left the scripture in the ancient tomb, hoping that someone would inherit it. In the end, no one was able to obtain it, so I had to take it back. Don't make things difficult for this child." "Me? Children?" The three of them looked at each other and immediately confirmed that although this person looked young, his actual age might be older than them. There was more. He left the 9 Prince Universe palm in the ancient tomb. Could it be? Sang Qingtian said with trembling hands, "Senior is Qiankuan perfected?" Sigh. Jun Changshao sighed and said, "What a nostalgic name." His expression and words were equivalent to an indirect admission. The expressions of the 2 men and 1 woman suddenly changed, and the confusion in their hearts was suddenly solved. It turned out that this young man was once a top mighty figure. Qiankuan perfected was Lin Tianyu, the pinnacle figure of the 32nd universe. He was active 100,000 years ago and could be considered a legend that shocked the world. It was said that he later peeped into the secrets of heaven and stepped into the land of eternal life. Not to mention who was stronger or weaker, in terms of seniority and prestige, he was basically equivalent to the former 7 Xian Supreme Lord. Jun Changshao was also awesome. He pretended to be such a figure as soon as he arrived. What was even more shocking was that the 4 experts who could be considered to be reputable actually believed it. Damn it! This was too retarded. In fact, there was a reason for their belief. First of all, Jun Changshao was strong, similar to Qiankuan perfected in the past. Second, the 9 Prince Universe palm was one of the martial arts created by the latter. No one had inherited it, but he could use it to a superb level. Alas! This martial art was randomly comprehended when I was seeking the Tao. I left it in the ancient tomb to wait for the fated person, but I didn't know that it had harmed so many creatures. It's really a sin. He tue. The system really couldn't help it. Today, I took back the secret book. If you want to find it, you don't need to look for others. You can come to me, Jun Changshao said. Obviously. This guy deliberately pretended to be a big shot to get rid of trouble for Sang Qingtian. The three of them were in a dilemma. Why don't you go? Are you waiting for tea? Jun Changxiao's eyes suddenly became sharp. Goodbye. The three of them broke out in a cold sweat and hurriedly left. One look made them feel like they were facing an abyss. Even if they questioned the identity of Qianquan perfected, they didn't dare to make a move. However, this was shocking news. They had to inform their own forces as soon as possible. Watching them leave, Sang Qingtian hurriedly turned around and said with a high standard of etiquette, "Thank you for saving me, senior." "No need to thank me." Jun Changxiao said, "You and I are fated." Sang Qingtian was overjoyed. It was definitely a blessing to be fated with such a top mighty figure. However, after hesitating for a while, Sang Qingtian said with difficulty, "Rumor has it that senior has entered the land of eternal life. Why are you still in Lintianyu?" Jun Changxiao got two good pieces of information from his words. 1. This was Lintianyu. 2. This universe also knew about the land of eternal life. Sigh. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, "The land of eternal life is the secret of our eternal life. How can it be so easy to enter?" Sang Qingtian suddenly realized. It seemed that Senior Qianquan did not enter the land of eternal life. The rumors were just groundless rumors. "Child," Jun Changxiao said, "this old man has been in seclusion for 100,000 years. The world has changed. I wonder if the grotto heaven that was used for cultivation still exists." Reporting to Senior. Sang Qingtian hurriedly said, "Your universe cave abode is still there. It is now a holy land that the younger generation of martial artists worship." "Oh." Jun Changxiao said, "Then I won't be going back." Speaking of which, how did he even know about the universe cave abode? It was all because of what was written in the secret manual. Pretending to be a mighty figure was not a hot-headed act, but one with absolute confidence. Unless the main body appeared, unless there were relatives and friends that he had met, otherwise, with his strength and understanding of palm techniques, it was almost impossible to be exposed. This matter tells us that when the top big shots leave behind treasures, they must not write their own experiences on it. Otherwise, it would be easy for Go Sheng to seize the opportunity. After leaving for tens of thousands of years, I returned without a home. Jun Changxiao looked up to the sky and sighed, his eyes filled with vicissitudes of life. In terms of acting, one could say that Go Sheng was the best. Sang Qingtian carefully savored it and instantly gained something in his heart and soul. He was secretly shocked, as expected of a legendary mighty figure. Even his words contained profound meaning. "Senior," he said, "if you don't mind, please follow me to the extreme heroism realm for a few days." This, Jun Changxiao pretended to consider and said, "All right." Sang Qingtian was so excited that he almost beat his chest and roared. If such a legendary figure could come to the plane where he lived, it would be a great honor and a great fortune. Jun Changxiao brought rows of flowers to the extreme heroism realm as Qianquan perfected being. "Senior." On the way, Sang Qingtian asked, "This is?" "My most beloved woman." "So it's Senior Qin Hong. Sorry for not recognizing you." Rumor had it that Qianquan perfected being and Qin Hongwu were childhood sweethearts when they were young. After they got married, they were like shadows and loved each other. They were truly a model couple. This impersonation was flawless. Of course. Jun Changxiao was not trying to show off his acting skills. The purpose of playing the role of Qianquan Zhenren was very simple, which was to inquire about the situation in this universe and find the medicinal herbs in the formula. It was too troublesome to search from plane to plane, so it was better to use the name of a legendary expert to mobilize the power of the entire universe to search for him. What a cunning plan! Not to mention, while Go Sheng was on his way to the ultimate hero's realm, the 3 people who had escaped had already sent the news to their respective forces. The news about Qinkuan Immortal's appearance spread across the entire Lin Tianyu realm, causing a great sensation. Report. Sang Qingtian has returned to the extreme heroism realm. Report. They were accompanied by a young couple. Report. The young man is exactly the same as what the 3 elders described. He should be Senior Qinkuan. As soon as the news came out, from God's perspective, one could see many experts, magical treasures, and warships flying out from various planes and swarming toward the ultimate hero's realm. Jun Changxiao's trip to the other universes this time was destined to not be ordinary. Read on, N. Chapter 2012. Extreme Heroism Realm. It was a relatively high-level plane. At this moment, Jun Changxiao followed Sang Qingtian to stay here temporarily to understand their customs, as well as martial arts and medicinal knowledge. First was the realm. This universe was divided into 3 levels, namely Human Realm, Earth Realm, and the highest Heaven Realm. Each realm had early, middle, and peak. It was said that when one reached peak Heaven Realm, one could enter the land of eternal life. In that case, Jun Changxiao said, my current strength is equivalent to peak Heaven Realm. Of course. Lin Tianyu still had many realms. However, in front of Go Sheng, it was hard to say, so he didn't elaborate. In short, Human Realm, Earth Realm, and Heaven Realm corresponded to Eternal Domain's Dan Transformation Realm, Truth-Seeking Realm, and Heaven's Secret Realm. The other universes should be similar, the name was random, and the effect was similar. To this, Jun Changxiao was speechless. What was the point of having a good name? It was better to simply divide them into levels from 1 to 999. So, the system roared, this is the reason why he divided the eternal domain into numbers. As mentioned before, Jun Changxiao integrated the upper universe and redivided the realms. That's right, it was the simplest level from 1 to 999. There were no fancy names, nor were there complicated classifications such as upper, middle, and lower. It was just a numerical ranking. According to Go Sheng's realm settings, he was already at level 999 in the Eternal Domain, which was considered a max level account. As long as he didn't open a new map or dungeon, he was invincible. As for the upper echelons and core disciples of the sect of all times, most of them were around level 800, and there was still some time before they reached the max level. What a good realm. It was turned into an online game. No wonder the system couldn't help but roar. However, what was even worse was the division of medicinal ingredients and treasures, which were also divided into levels from 1 to 999. It wasn't hard to imagine. A few years later, the warriors of the Eternal Domain would ask, bro, what level are you, and what's the level of your equipment? I'm not talented. Level 666, weapon 666, treasure 666. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Another example would be an organization announcing to the public that they had researched a brand new pill that could greatly increase the absorption of spiritual energy, and it was rated as level 888. Just thinking about it made him speechless. When Jun Changxiao was serious, he was super serious. When he was despicable, he was super despicable. Senior. Standing before the study room, Sang Qingtian looked at the herbs on the prescription and awkwardly said, I don't know much about herbs, so I don't know what's on it. Jun Changxiao felt depressed. He was a heavenly law expert after all, yet he did not know anything about medicinal herbs. Does anyone in your realm know? Jun Changxiao did not give up. Sang Qingtian said, Senior, please wait for a moment. I will go and find a master who is proficient in medicinal herbs. They had already regarded Jun Changxiao as the Qinkuan Immortal, so they did not dare to neglect him. They summoned all the medicine masters of the Transcendent Hero's realm as soon as possible. All of a sudden, 30 people gathered in the elegant courtyard. Judging from their age and attire, as well as the strong smell of medicinal herbs, it was easy to guess that they must be experts proficient in the art of alchemy. What's happening? I don't know. Why did Senior Sang summon us for no reason? Everyone was a little confused. Although Sang Qingtian was not the realm lord of the transcendent hero's realm, he was still a top-notch expert with the most authority. Now that he had invited them over, they were truly overwhelmed by the favor. Senior. Right then, Sang Qingtian cupped his fists towards the room. All the elixir masters of our realm are here. Everyone's eyes widened. A top-notch expert like Senior Sang would address someone as a senior and act so respectfully. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. Creak. The door suddenly opened and a voice rang out. Come in. Yes. Sang Qingtian turned around and shot a look at the elixir masters. Everyone hurried in carefully, cursing in their hearts. Who exactly was in the room? Holy shit. A young man. As soon as the 30 or so alchemists entered, they saw Jun Changshao sitting on a chair with his eyes closed, and their expressions became even more interesting. Judging from his skin and color, he was definitely younger than 100 years old. Was such a young man worthy of being addressed as a senior by Sang Qingtian? Although everyone was doubtful, they still behaved respectfully. Kid. Jun Changshao said, let them go. Take a look at the prescription. Senior Sang was at least 10,000 years old, yet he called him a child. Yes. Sang Qingtian took out the prescription and said, take a look and see if you know anything about the herbs recorded on it. If you can find them or provide any clues, I'll reward you handsomely. When the alchemy grandmasters heard the words there will be a heavy reward, their eyes immediately lit up, and then they swarmed around the table. This, after looking at it, they were all stunned. All the pill grandmasters present had thousands of years of experience, but they had never heard of the medicinal herbs recorded on it, let alone seen them. From their expressions, Jun Changshao naturally noticed, and he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Sigh. Was it so hard to have a child? Senior Sang. A pill master said bitterly, we don't know anything about the medicinal ingredients recorded on it. Trash. Sang Qingtian bellowed. Forget it. Jun Changshao waved his hand and said, these herbs are too rare, and only a few people know about them. You can't blame them. Don't worry, senior. Sang Qingtian said, I'll do my best to find these herbs for you. The extreme meritocracy realm was a relatively traditional martial arts world. In the 32nd universe, there were many alchemy worlds, and he might be able to find some clues. There's no hurry. Jun Changshao said, take it slow. He was prepared to fight a protracted battle when he went out to look for herbs, so he was very relaxed. In the following days, Jun Changshao took rows of flowers to travel around the extreme meritocracy realm, experiencing different local customs, and admiring the wonders and beautiful scenery created by nature. This kind of carefree life had lasted for 1,000 years. Not only did the couple not feel bored, they even enjoyed it. A patriarch and a patriarch wife, but they didn't manage the sect and only cared about traveling. They really felt sorry for Deputy Patriarch Yuan Feng. One day, Jun Changshao, who was leisurely fishing by the lake, suddenly sensed many powerful auras rushing toward the extreme meritocracy realm, so he said with a smile, so soon? Pretending to be a legend overlord from Lin Tianyu would definitely cause a commotion and attract many forces. Just in time. Jun Changshao retracted his fishing rod and said, I can ask about the herbs. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Not long after, the space above the extreme meritocracy realm gradually distorted, and streams of light and battleships rushed in as if in a hurry to reincarnate. What's going on? The martial artists in the dimension were all stunned. They were living as usual, cultivating as usual, but suddenly a large number of martial artists came, and their auras were not ordinary. This was really a bit confusing. The Lord of Heavenly Meritocracy. The Lord of Haoying Realm. The Lord of Sister Longying Realm. The Lord of Great Meritocracy Realm. Hiss. Everyone gradually saw the appearance of the newcomers, and they were shocked to the extreme. They were all top figures in Lin Tianyu. Why would they suddenly come to the extreme meritocracy realm? Could it be that someone got into big trouble and was collectively targeted by the entire universe? Whoosh whoosh. Just when everyone was shocked, a vast and profound aura appeared, instantly covering the entire dimension, and completely stabilizing the restless space. The extreme meritocracy realm had a limit. Now that so many big shots suddenly came, it definitely couldn't withstand it. Jun Changshao stabilized the main world system with his heavenly cultivation. Even if there were more forces coming one after another, they couldn't shake it at all. This move really shocked the overlords of all the dimensions. At first, they still had some doubts, but now they immediately dispelled them and obediently retracted their auras. They all cupped their hands and said, "Greetings, Senior Universe." So many realm overlords from Lin Tianyu gathered in the extreme meritocracy realm, and they all bowed to Jun Changshao, who was sitting by the lake. The scene was too shocking. Everyone. Jun Changshao stood up and said with his hands behind his back, "Please come down and have a chat." He was very calm, and very elegant. It was really hard to imagine that this was the big bitch who led the eternal realm astray. Chapter 2013. My name is Red Phosphorus Lake. I'm a little panicked. Because there are dozens of realm lords standing in front of me and they can evaporate my water with just a breath. Cough, cough. Sang Qingtian stood in front of Jun Changshao and raised his head slightly. In terms of seniority, he was lower than the realm lord and weaker in terms of strength. Now that the senior was here, he had nothing to fear and could even be on equal footing with them. That felt really good. Senior Universe. A white-haired old man cupped his hands and said, "I heard that you have entered the land of immortality. Why did you suddenly return? Let's not talk about that first." Jun Changshao said, "Let's talk business first." After that, Sang Qingtian strode forward and placed the list of herbs on the stone table. Senior Universe needs to find the herbs listed on it. I hope you can provide effective clues. Herbs. Everyone looked at each other. Although they were full of doubts, they still released their spiritual senses and fell into deep thought after looking at the list of herbs. Jun Changshao had been paying attention to their expressions. Seeing that they were all frowning, his heart turned cold again. Sigh. It's too difficult. The system said, "It's okay if you can't find it. At least for your child, you can write some chapters." Senior Universe. The white-haired old man thought for a while and said, "The herbs listed on this list should be found in the medicine spirit realm." Oh. Jun Changshao's eyes lit up. Senior. Sang Qingtian transmitted his voice, "The medicine spirit realm is one of the most mysterious realms in Lin Tianyu. It is said that there are countless herbs and treasures that can bring living beings back to life." Bring living beings back to life? Jun Changshao said, "That's a bit magical." Although Go Sheng was invincible now, he still couldn't bring living beings back to life. He could only rely on cheating to resurrect Xiao Ziji. Therefore, treasures that could bring the dead back to life were quite heaven-defying. Elder Lu's wife is still in the coffin. If I can find such a treasure, I might be able to bring her back to life. Thinking of this, Jun Changshao asked, "Where is the medicine spirit realm?" The white-haired old man shook his head and said, "This world is extremely mysterious. No one knows its location. Only those who are lucky enough to find it can find it." Not bad. Sang Qingtian said, "Indeed. Any other clues?" Jun Changshao asked. That's all." Everyone said helplessly. "All right." Jun Changshao waved his hand, and several jars of wine appeared out of thin air in front of the big shots. He said, "You've all come from afar, but this old man doesn't have much to entertain you. I can only brew this wine myself. I hope you won't mind." Over the past 1,000 years, Lan Kong had been brewing wine. He had even infused the power of celestial music into it, causing drunk or dreaming to have a qualitative leap. Moreover, it was also divided into many series. For example, it was suitable for ordinary people, suitable for middle and low-level martial artists, and suitable for high-level martial artists. The wine that Jun Changshao took out belonged to the high-end category. If it were to be measured by the brand and value of the secular world, it would definitely be the Maotai of the high martial arts world. This, looking at the wine jars placed in front of them, the experts from the various existential planes hesitated. What if it was poisoned wine? "If you don't drink it, I'll take it away," Jun Changshao said. "Drink, drink, drink." The white-haired old man hurriedly opened the wine jar. The fragrance of the wine wafted in the forest. Everyone took a sniff and felt refreshed. Gulp. The white-haired old man could not care less about his identity. He raised his cup and drank the wine. The sweet wine entered his stomach. Under the stimulation of the celestial music, his consciousness, thoughts, and even his soul were deeply stimulated. He had an intuitive understanding of the profound meaning hidden in heaven and earth. However, the alcohol was a little strong. The white-haired old man's face turned red, and his body began to sway. He could not care less about embarrassing himself in public. He allowed the alcohol to stimulate his consciousness and began to comprehend the profound meaning in a frenzy. The more he immersed himself in it, the more obvious he was drunk. The big shots from the various dimensions waited for a while. Although the white-haired old man was a little drunk, he was shrouded in some kind of energy. Hence, they removed the seal and started to drink. A moment later, in the forest outside the red phosphorus lake, the top big shots from various dimensions were all swaying. They were all in a drunken state. This drunkenness was nothing more than superficial. In fact, they were in a particularly magical state at the moment. Once they sobered up, they would definitely benefit a lot. Sure enough. A few hours later, everyone woke up from their drunken state and stood in the same place. All of them were ecstatic. Drinking drunk and dreaming did not make them break through, but the comprehension of the profound meaning of heaven and earth was obvious. Even spending hundreds or thousands of years to comprehend it might not have such an effect. This wine was heaven-defying. Everyone. This wine is called drunk and dreaming. You can drink it every day to comprehend the profound meaning of heaven and earth. Whoever can find the medicine spirit world for me will be rewarded with 10 jars. Jun Changshao could not find it by himself. After all, the universe was so big. If he prepared some benefits for them to find it, they should be able to find it quickly. We accept the order. The big shots of the various dimensions who had experienced the benefits said in unison. They hurriedly put the unfinished drunk and dreaming into their space rings and then left excitedly. It was not hard to imagine. When they returned home, Universe 32 would definitely be lively. Sure enough. A few days later, all the dimensions and the major forces began to act. Streaks of light and battleships spread out in all directions. Their task was very simple, that is, to find the medicine spirit world and get Senior Chenkuan's 10 jars of drunk and dreaming. With their strength, ordinary treasures of heaven and earth could not bring martial arts benefits, but the magical wine could, so it was very precious and important. The effect is not bad. Jun Changshao was still traveling in the extreme hero world, but he could always receive information from all the dimensions, so he touched his chin and said, after going back, I can let Lan Kong study it more. Maybe I can get rich by relying on drunk and dreaming. Swish. He opened the system skillfully and refreshed the mall when he had nothing to do. There was a fixed number of times every month, and Jun Changshao had formed a habit. In the past, there were no good things. Until today, when he refreshed for the last time, an item appeared in the item bar, called Medicine Spirit World Map. It was refreshed just like that. Jun Changshao held his head and collapsed. I sent out so many drunk and dreaming, isn't that, yes? The system said gloatingly, host is losing. Reading site, N. Chapter 2014. Just as the experts of the Lin Tianyu region were searching for the medicine spirit world, Jun Changshao had already used the shop to get the map. Cheating. As one needed contribution points to buy it, it didn't take much effort to buy it. The map was quite old, and in terms of touch, it felt like a sheepskin scroll. Why would someone leave a map? Jun Changshao was confused. Most of the items bought in the shop were stolen. This meant that someone left the map behind on purpose, as if they were afraid that they couldn't find the way there. At this moment, Jun Changshao noticed that there was a small paragraph of special text on the bottom left corner of the map, so he said, "Translate it for me." The system said, "I don't need to translate, this is a surprise." Jun Changshao hollered, "Translate it for me, what is a surprise?" Pfft. Translate the text. Oh. Only then did the system understand and began to translate the words on the map, saying, "I once planted a heavenly treasure called the soul summoning fruit in the medicine spirit realm. Anyone who has this map can easily find it." Soul calling fruit. Jun Changshao was confused, can it bring the dead back to life? This deduction came from the word soul calling. It should be, the system said. It was rare for the two of them to be on the same side and not bicker. It seems. Jun Changshao smiled, it is not just a map, it is a treasure map. After saying that, he started to study it carefully. This map was a little weird, there were no usual boxes or lines, no geographical location or coordinates, just a pentagram-like pattern and a black dot in the center. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin, it doesn't look like a map. After studying it for the whole night, his head was about to explode. What is it? Rose of Flowers was woken up, her hair messy as she got off the bed and stopped in front of Jun Changshao barefoot. She placed her hand on her husband's shoulder out of habit, her charming eyes still had a hint of tiredness. This damn aura easily made one's heart beat faster. One had to say. Rose of Flowers was becoming more and more feminine. Jun Changshao's looks were not bad either. Whether it was a boy or a girl, the children of these two would definitely be monstrous in terms of appearance. This map. Jun Changshao rubbed his temples. I don't understand it at all. Oh. Rose of Flowers gently leaned up and rested her chin on his head. Then she looked at the map on the table and asked curiously, is there anything that my husband doesn't know? Of course. Jun Changshao said, there are many things I don't know. After 1,000 years of meditation and cultivation, he realized that there was no end to the path of martial arts. Although he had reached the peak, there were still many unknowns that needed to be explored. Let me take a look. Rose of Flowers looked at it carefully and gave her opinion, this doesn't look like a map. It looks more like a scene. Scene? You don't say, it does smell like that. After being reminded by Rose of Flowers, Jun Changshao immediately realized that something was different. In particular, the pentagram was more like 5 natural scenes, or even more like 5 planes, arranged in a regular pattern around the black spot. I got it. This is a certain star sector. As long as we find the corresponding pentagram, we should be able to find the medicine spiritual realm. Let's go. Let's hurry up and find it. Jun Changshao pulled Rose of Flowers and was about to leave when the latter hurriedly said, I'm still in my pajamas. This, in the living room, Sang Qingtian frowned. It was early in the morning, but he reeked of alcohol. That's right, he had drunk a whole bowl of drunk and dreaming yesterday, and the smell of alcohol had not dissipated yet. Senior. Sang Qingtian said, I have some impression of this place. Take me there. Since there were some clues, Jun Changshao couldn't wait to reach the destination and look for the herbs in the prescription. However, Sang Qingtian said, this place is a top-secret forbidden area of Lin Tianyu. If you trespass, you will easily die. Jun Changxiao's eyes suddenly turned cold. Are you questioning my strength? Ha! Sang Qingtian was dumbfounded. That's right. This is Senior Qiankuan, a legendary expert. How can I use the mentality of an ordinary person to measure him? No, no, no. Sang Qingtian hurriedly explained. Say no more, Jun Changshao said, take me there quickly. Okay. Every universe had mysterious secret realms or forbidden areas, and Lin Tianyu was no exception. In fact, there were more of them. In fact, secret realms and forbidden areas were more like instance dungeons. Although they were full of danger, they were also accompanied by opportunities. Since ancient times, countless living beings had died, and countless people had achieved meteoric success. That was not right. Under Sang Qingtian's lead, Jun Changshao stopped at the forbidden area where the greatest danger and opportunity coexisted in Lin Tianyu. From God's perspective, there were 5 planes around the entrance, which vaguely outlined the angle of a pentagram. That's right. Jun Changshao took out the sheepskin scroll. After comparing it a few times, he said, this is the place. Let's go. Let's go in. Sang Qingtian took a deep breath and was about to follow, but Jun Changshao added, wait outside. Okay. He really didn't go in. He stood at the entrance and watched the two of them go in until they completely disappeared into the darkness. His eyes were filled with joy and worry. He was happy that he didn't have to risk entering the forbidden area. He was worried that he couldn't see Senior Qiankuan create the forbidden area with his own eyes. Sigh. Sang Qingtian sighed. I'm in a dilemma. Inside the forbidden area was a passageway that looked like a corridor. The surrounding space was distorted, and it felt like they were traveling through time and space. What hadn't Jun Changshao and Rows of Flowers seen before? Therefore, they were already used to it and didn't even feel the slightest bit of emotion while walking in it. After walking for about an hour, there was a white luster at the end. When the two of them passed through it, they stopped at a place that looked like a cliff. There's no way out. Jun Changshao was surprised. Husband. Rows of Flowers pointed to the wall on the side and said, what's that? Jun Changshao looked over and found that there was a square pit in the middle of the wall. It looked like some kind of secret compartment, or, wait a minute. Judging from the size and specifications, why did it match the sheepskin scroll so well? Jun Changshao walked over, hurriedly took out the map, and then carefully stuck it on. Not to mention. It did match very well. Buzz. At this moment, the wall and the ground suddenly trembled, and a rolling heat wave surged out from the bottom of the cliff. Roar! A deafening roar came from the bottom of the cliff, giving people the feeling that it came from the depths of hell. Step back. Jun Changshao frowned. Rows of Flowers stood behind him obediently. Although the surrounding atmosphere was a little depressing, she was actually not worried at all. She was even curious about whether there was some kind of special demonic beast hiding here. Hoo. Right at this moment, demonic chi spread out from the bottom of the cliff. Soon, they saw a huge head rushing up, followed by 2 arms and a body. Finally, it stood before them like a huge mountain. In terms of form, it looked like a giant, but in terms of color and facial features, it was closer to a demon. Human. The monster said coldly, you are courting death. No. Why did the eyes of this young man, who was as weak as an ant, shine brightly? Rows of Flowers also noticed Jun Changshao's expression, so she said speechlessly, such an ugly demonic beast. Are you going to capture it and make it the guardian beast? Read on, N. Chapter 2015. Rose of Flowers was right. Jun Changshao was tempted by the sudden appearance of the giant monster. It was undeniable that it was a little ugly, but from its aura, it was not weaker than a heavenly mystery. Take it down. Put it in the sect of all times as a gatekeeper. For 1,000 years, Jun Changshao had done this many times. When he passed by a plain and encountered a special beast, he subdued it and used it as a gatekeeper. Damn it! The monster did not realize that it was in danger and said angrily, "What's with that look?" "I love your eyes," Jun Changshao said. Ugh! The monster almost vomited. Jun Changshao said, "The abyss leads to the medicine spirit world." "That's right." The monster said coldly. "Found it." The smile on Jun Changshao's face became brighter. This angered the monster. It raised its arms and slammed down, roaring, "I'm guarding this place, you won't be able to move an inch." Hoo-hoo! The mountain-like palm pressed down, stirring up a cold gale. The monster was indeed powerful. If it was Sang Qingtian, he might not be able to take it. However, the one standing in front of it was Jun Changshao. As the founder of the Eternal Realm and having spent 1,000 years under the Great Spring and Autumn technique, his strength had reached the peak. Smack! The moment the palm pressed down, Jun Changshao raised his hand and used his middle and index fingers to receive it. Energy ripples that could be seen with the naked eye spread out and hit the surrounding stone walls. Rose Flower stood at the back, her hair dancing in the wind. However, she was not affected at all. With her husband around, she was safe. Hoo-hoo! Hoo-hoo! The hand seemed to be frozen in place, allowing the energy to press down, but it was still unable to move Jun Changshao's 2 fingers. How is this possible? The monster widened its eyes and angrily channeled power into its arm, trying to crush the human in front of it into powder. Unfortunately, no matter how it tried, it was unable to sink down. Jun Changshao's 2 fingers were like pillars that held up the sky and earth. Who? Of course, the monster wasn't willing to give up. It raised its other hand and pressed down, but the human was still standing there with a smile on his face. He had a mental breakdown. Damn it! The monster retracted its palms and breathed in and out heavily. The attributes of the world around it surged into its body. It let out a savage roar and pressed its hands down with terrifying power. There's no point in struggling. Jun Changshao shook his head. With a light tap of his toes, he charged towards the 2 palms and evaded them with unpredictable movements. He stopped in front of the monster and slowly raised his hands. Outside the forbidden area. Sang Qingtian asked worriedly, "Is Senior Qinkuan alright?" Rumble. Suddenly, a deafening rumble sounded out from within, and it startled him to the point of hurriedly retreating a few kilometers while his back broke out in cold sweat. Hoo-hoo! At the same time, billowing waves of air surged out from the forbidden land and spread throughout the vast universe. Sang Qingtian's expression changed drastically, especially when he sensed the energy wreaking havoc in his body. His scalp went from numb to exploding. This commotion. This aura. It was truly terrifying. Who? The first person that came to Sang Qingtian's mind was Senior Qinkuan. As far as he knew, no one in Lintianyu could reach such a terrifying level. Ka-ka. At this moment, a cracking sound was heard. Sang Qingtian's eyes gradually widened and he exclaimed, "The top secret forbidden area, cracked." That's right. This forbidden area that had existed in Lintianyu for a long time suddenly suffered a terrifying explosion of power and finally cracked. Boom! Another explosion was heard. The top secret forbidden area that could still be salvaged suddenly suffered heavy damage and cracked even faster. Oh no! Sang Qingtian exclaimed and immediately turned to flee. His reaction was quite fast. If he was a little later, he might rumble. All of a sudden, a strong explosion occurred at the entrance of the top secret forbidden area. The surrounding space instantly collapsed into pieces and the shockwave instantly spread far away. Puff! Although Sang Qingtian dodged very quickly, he still couldn't outrun the shockwave produced by the explosion. Therefore, he was still affected. Not only did he fly out, but his meridians and internal organs were also injured. What's that? The martial artists scattered in various areas of Lin Tianyu clearly heard the explosion of the forbidden area and were shocked. It's very far away. It seems to be in the top secret forbidden area. Let's go and take a look. Swish. 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 In an instant, experts from countless planes flew to the top secret forbidden area. It wasn't hard to imagine that when they arrived at the scene, they would definitely be like Sang Qingtian, standing on the spot as if they were struck by lightning and unable to recover for a long time. What did that mean? Because the top secret forbidden area was gone. Because the space within hundreds of miles had collapsed. In the central area where the wind was howling and order was in chaos, rows of flowers hovered in midair and shook her head. Another forbidden area was destroyed. Sang Qingtian swallowed his saliva and continued to release his spiritual thoughts. He found that Senior Qiankuan was standing in front of his wife and in front of a huge demonic beast. Why does this demonic beast look so much like the chaotic demon king recorded in the ancient books? If the word "like" was removed, it would be a chaotic demon king. Could it be? Sang Qingtian's brain worked quickly and he said, that was the cause of the commotion just now. As an ancient-level creature, it was definitely powerful. However, it was a little exaggerated to destroy the top-secret forbidden area. Wait. There were two dents on this guy's face. Was he beaten up? Thump. At that moment, half of the chaotic demon king's body and head fell to the ground like mud. The top-secret forbidden area was no longer there. All that was left was the limited area where Jun Changshao was standing and the abyss in front of him. You have to be gentle so that you don't get beaten up. Jun Changshao squatted down and placed one hand on the chaotic demon king's head. He signed the contract in a domineering manner. The signing of the contract required the consent of both parties. However, the chaotic demon king fainted after being punched twice. There was no need to ask. Swoosh. Soon, the contract was signed. Jun Changshao took out a ball from his space ring and kept the chaotic demon king inside. Don't ask how it got there. If you ask, you bought it from the mall. Let's go. Jun Changshao said, let's go down. Okay. The two jumped off the cliff hand in hand. Sang Qingtian, who was standing far away, was dumbfounded. The top-secret forbidden area was destroyed by Senior Qiankuan and an ancient demon king was subdued by him. It was too terrifying. Legendary. As expected of a legend. At that moment, Sang Qingtian's admiration for Jun Changshao was like a surging river. Xiao! Xiao! At this moment, the powerhouses closest to the top-secret forbidden land rushed over. When they saw the collapsed space and the abyss that existed in the universe, they were all dumbfounded. Sorry. Sang Qingtian turned around and said, you guys came late and missed Senior Qiankuan's move. There was obvious pride on his face, as though he was telling everyone that it was a pity that they didn't see it, but he saw it. Read on, and you're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.